right now I have 2.06 Bitcoin in my Bitcoin mining wallet that are worth $77,000 in total. And that's all from something that I only started doing a little over a year ago, and something that works 100% passively with zero interaction from me. I just go to sleep, and every day I wake up with more Bitcoin in my wallet. It's what dreams are made of. I'm gonna break down all of my costs, my total profit, how much it costs to get started doing this today, and whether it's worth doing or not. Let me give you a quick timeline and how much I've spent so far on equipment, because depending on who you are, it might seem like a lot. In the summer of 2022, I purchased my first 6 mining machines for $8,964 per unit, which in hindsight was a lot per machine. Now, those same machines were selling for over $20,000 per unit at the peak of the market. So at the time, it felt like a good deal, but compared to right now, pretty pricey. Well, later in the fall of 2022, I bought 10 more units for $3,804 each. Better price, but still a bit high compared to right now. Well, fast forward to just 2 months ago, and I bought 3 more units for $2,600 for each of those units. And you can actually buy Bitcoin miners much cheaper than that right now, but the ones I just bought 2 months ago are also very modern units and therefore very efficient. So I was willing to pay a little more for ones that will be even more profitable for longer. I've also spent about $18,000 in the past 6 months on 35 Bitcoin mining NFTs through Fraction Mining and Alpha Shares Mining Co. So in total, that means I spent just under $118,000 on my 19 Bitcoin miners and 35 Bitcoin mining NFTs. That's over 6 figures of Bitcoin mining spending. Oh boy. The other really cool thing here is that I can sell my mining machines or my NFTs in the next bull run if I want, and maybe even make a big profit doing so. People always tell me, Andy, your machines will be outdated by then. You'll be forced to upgrade so you can stay profitable. In the last bull cycle, several generations old machines 10 to 20x in price and were also profitably mining. All because Bitcoin went high enough in price. That's the magic of price appreciation. I also think it's important to say that I have sunk just as much money into buying Bitcoin directly over the past 5 to 6 years as I have with mining. But still, why have I sunk over 100 grand into Bitcoin mining? Well, one big reason is that I think the price of Bitcoin is going to rapidly appreciate in the next couple of years. We are likely going to see a Bitcoin spot ETF approved in the next few months, which would give just about everyone in the US direct price exposure to Bitcoin in their boring old brokerage accounts if they want it. The people behind these ETFs and institutions have also changed their attitudes about Bitcoin a lot and are now encouraging people to give Bitcoin another look. Both of those things should create a lot of demand for Bitcoin going forward. And then couple that demand with the upcoming Bitcoin halving, when half as much Bitcoin will be created each day. Well, there will be more demand and less Bitcoin, which is a prime situation for creating higher and higher prices.
It's science.
And with all that on the horizon, not only do I want to own Bitcoin, but I also want to get paid Bitcoin every day passively, and mining does that for me. Okay, let's talk numbers and how much digital gold I'm digging up. Since the last time I talked about my mining results, I had mined 1.93 Bitcoin, which at the time was worth $53,000. That same 1.93 BTC would be worth over $71,000 today. But now I've mined 2.06 Bitcoin worth over $77,000. The Bitcoin mining difficulty has been going up, meaning overall I mine less Bitcoin per month per machine because more and more people are mining Bitcoin, but I'm actually mining more Bitcoin per month than I was since my last update because I have more machines and hash power now. And if you really want to know, it's about 2.35 petahash. So I'm currently mining about 0.154 BTC per month, or about $5,900 per month at today's Bitcoin price. And of course, that will probably change tomorrow, or by the time this video comes out, that's just what Bitcoin does. Each month, I spend about $2,600 on my electricity. So that means I'm currently profiting about $3,300 per month. And I will finish mining 3 full Bitcoins in roughly 180 days. However, we are only 167 days from the next Bitcoin halving. So I will likely mine just under 3 full Bitcoin by the time that happens. So let's talk about the return you get doing this. $3,300 in monthly profit on a $118,000 investment works out to an annual return of 34%, which I think is pretty good. However, the return is much higher if you get in today because the price of machines has gone down a lot. And you can even buy better machines that have a higher hash rate at a lower power usage for less than what I paid for most of my machines as well. All that means that if I bought the miners today, I'd be making a 65% annual return. And if you do want to buy some miners and find a good place to host them, well then check out Musk Miners. They are my go-to source for buying and hosting miners, and there is a link in the description to them. One strategic decision I have made that I think is worth talking about is that I've been paying my hosting and electric fees out of pocket. A lot of people mine Bitcoin each month, sell some of that Bitcoin to pay for their electricity or hosting, and then hold the rest. And some people actually sell all their Bitcoin each month and just pocket the profits in USD. For me though, I want as much Bitcoin to hold as possible. So I pay my hosting fees out of pocket and I don't touch my mining rewards. I just let them sit in my wallet. I let them get really comfortable. I'm doing this because I think they will be worth way more in the future, so I don't want to sell any right now. I also view this like buying Bitcoin at a discount. I spend $2,600 a month on hosting fees and I get $5,900 in Bitcoin, and that sounds like a steal to me. But that's not a perfect example because of the machine costs that are in the mix, but I think I will be able to sell my machines in the next bull market and basically negate all or most of that cost and maybe even profit too. But really, there is no right or wrong answer here because some people can't afford to pay out of pocket for electric costs. But if you can, and you want the most BTC possible, then you should consider paying out of pocket and just holding all the BTC you can. Now, if you know anything about Bitcoin, you probably know that there is something called the halving coming soon. This is where roughly every 4 years, the block reward is coded to be cut in half. This means that the moment the halving occurs, instead of the current 6.25 Bitcoin that are mined every 10 minutes, there will only be 3.125 Bitcoins mined. The moment the halving happens, all miners around the world will be making 50% less Bitcoin. And like I already said, we are now roughly 167 days away from this happening. And while that does seem like a big bummer, this is good for Bitcoin overall. Yes, it will suck for the amount of Bitcoin I get to be cut in half instantly when the halving occurs. But every single time this has happened so far, the price of Bitcoin has skyrocketed in value in the 6 to 12 months after the halving. And then combine that with the demand that I've already talked about, and this could lead to a massive price increase. Maybe even one that's many times bigger than the last bull run. And if that happens, these machines will be hyper profitable. So even though I'll be making half as much BTC per day in terms of the dollar amount, I could be making 5x or 10x as much money per day. So long term, I am not worried about the halving. But it's important to be prepared to cover your hosting costs in case you aren't making enough to cover them from your mining rewards, if that's what you do. So has all of this been worth it? Should you do this? Well, it's definitely been worth it from a fun hobby and content creation perspective. I love geeking out about all this type of stuff, and it has been a great source of videos for me, like the one you're watching right now. Hi. But the real question is if it's worth it from a profit standpoint. For that, there are 2 ways to view this whole experiment. The first way is in terms of a USD return. Will I get more USD out of this than I put in? And I think the answer here will almost certainly be a resounding and emphatic Yes. In total, I have spent a little over $22,000 in hosting fees so far. That's on top of the $118,000 I've spent on hardware and NFTs. So a total of $140,000 spent to date. And that's given me $77,000 in Bitcoin so far. However, I think I will mine somewhere between 3 to 5 or more Bitcoin in total when I call this experiment concluded, whenever I sell these machines. So that means I will have mined between $111,000 to $185,000 in total at today's Bitcoin price. But again, that's at today's Bitcoin price, and I am definitely not doing all this for today's price. I think we will see at least $100,000 Bitcoin in the next bull run, if not 200 to 250,000 Bitcoin or way more. This means I could mine between $300,000 worth of Bitcoin on the low end or $1.75 million worth of Bitcoin on the higher end. And in either of these scenarios, I will have made way more USD than I put into it, if you care about dirty fiat. Which is why the second way to view this whole thing is, will I get more Bitcoin than if I had just bought it directly? The math says I could, but I honestly have no idea. It depends on the mining difficulty, the price of Bitcoin, and how long the machines run, to name just a few factors. The current Bitcoin block reward is 6.25 BTC, but in the past week or so, the block reward has actually been between 7 and 7.5 Bitcoin because of all the Bitcoin transaction fees stacked on top of that standard block reward. So if the usage of Bitcoin goes crazy, well, the fees miners get paid also go crazy. Now, I could have bought a little more than 5 full Bitcoins with all the money I've spent so far, if you take into account the price of Bitcoin when I made each purchase. And I could mine more than 5 Bitcoin total, but it's an unknown. In either case, for the experience, the content, the possibility of making more Bitcoin, the likely fact that I will make way more USD than I spent, and because these will be paying me daily passive income, I think this has all been more than worth it. Would it be for you? Dunno. That's for you to decide. Now, if you do want to try all this out, you can get started by buying even just one Bitcoin miner with Musk Mining. All you have to do is pay them and then have a Bitcoin wallet address. They do everything else. And you'll be up and running in less than a week most of the time. And if that's not enough, they'll even help you sell your machine in the next bull run if you want for a profit. Musk didn't sponsor this video. I'm just a big fan of the company. And speaking of things that I'm a big fan of, you should really watch this video to see another crypto passive income opportunity that is making me money while I sleep. Goodbye.